Introducing Apex Forms. Most businesses utilize lots and lots of forms in order to gather data used in processes. In an ideal world, we would build BPDs for all those processes in BPM or BAW, but it would take a lot of time and effort. We're talking about the long tail of processes that have a small amount of variation, lots of different flavors with relatively low volume. But if you add them all up, those long-tail processes can add up to half or even 60% of all the work flowing through your company. By neglecting them, there's a huge opportunity left on the table. What if you could enable your team to add custom business forms to your workflows, but without developers? By empowering the business owners to build their own forms, you've expanded the workforce for automating processes. Now we can do that with Apex Forms. In this example, Barbara, the process developer, builds a generic request process in BPM or BAW. Perhaps she builds 1 or even 5 or 6 variations. One of our real-life clients has over 100 different forms tied to 11 process types. Now Sally, who's our operations user, designs the forms for herself using Apex Forms, and she builds a form for each of the steps in these human processes. Here we see it in action. You can see that Nick, one of our operations team, is filling out the form. All of the white space in this view is Apex Forms, showing the form that Sally designed. And these are showing up in the process portal. Once Nick has submitted the form, Sally can now review the request. She opens up the form and starts to do the review. But then she realizes in the interval since she built this form, there's some new information requirements for this type of process. Sally does not approve the request. Instead, she leaves it right where it's at and hops into Apex Forms to modify this particular form. She navigates to the resource details portion of the form. She's realized that the driver's license number and driver's license types are now needed to process this type of work request. She adds those 2 fields to the form. For driver's license type, she decides instead of being a free text field, she will make it into a selection. You can see that she's defining the options. You can see that all the areas in Apex Forms have plenty of contextual help to get business users through the process of modifying the form themselves. Sally can preview the changes on the right-hand side of the screen. Not liking the layout, she modifies the width of a few fields to get them onto one line. Satisfied with her change, she can now reject the request and send it back to Nick to add the new required data. Nick opens up the same task, and now the fields are in place. We didn't need any BPM or BAW deployment to make this change. As soon as Sally published the updated form, it became available. Nick can now fill those out, and in all future requests, those fields will be there automatically. And now when the request goes back to Sally for review, it has the new fields. In summary, you can rapidly add forms to your processes without needing a developer. This empowers business users to design their own forms, which means we've increased our development capacity, which means we can improve our business agility by automating even more of our processes. Thanks for looking at Apex Forms. Contact us to find out how Apex Forms can help your company. Apex Process Consultants. Don't try to catch up with your competition. Leave them behind.